Hey everybody, it's Roman. Happy Easter, first of all. This is going to be my first installment of, I guess, a series of hodge-podge topics I'm going to talk about. I guess I'm going to call it What's Going On, just because I can't think of a name right now. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know and we'll see where that goes in terms of the name. So as I said, it's Easter as I'm recording this video. Personally, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. But happy Easter to all of my Christian friends and viewers. Um, what I try to do as a non-religious person is I feel you can take good from anything. And what I take from the sentiment of Easter is that it is a gift to be alive, and in our own individual ways, we should take this day to look at how we can, quote, rise up in our own lives, you know, sort of break away from the fear that prevents us from stepping out and doing what it is we feel called to do. So that's what I'm taking from Easter this year, and I hope it helps that I shared that with you. Let's see. What's going on in the literary world? Well, a lot of things. In terms of film, I read this article on Variety.com by Justin Kroll, I believe, and it's saying that film studios, are snatching up uh, the rights to books, like sometimes even before they're published, because of the success of things like Twilight and Hunger Games. Studios are now seeing the money that could be made from a series of books that is successful. Because come on, if you make a movie that is the beginning of, say, a trilogy, like, you have guaranteed money. Like, the fan base is gonna wait and hope for that next movie. Um, they're gonna read the book and then they're gonna compare it to the movie because it's a whole different experience, as we know. So I think that's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it as a writer. When you write a book, I don't know. Wouldn't you want it to have a life of its own as a book first, and then perhaps talk about adapting it into a film later? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If some studio came to me and said, "Hey, we love this book. We want to make a movie out of it," you know, I probably wouldn't be all high and mighty about it when the money started talking. But just in theory, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. Well, good for anybody who wants to do that with their book. But part of me, the commercialization of the art form of writing, people need to make money, but I don't know. I don't know. So I'll think about that a little bit more. Um, as you guys probably know, I'm an English major and I have a concentration in creative writing. And what I'm finding is that, and I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I don't feel like as an English major I'm as well read as I should be. I have ADD, which it's hard to sort of focus for a long period of time. It takes a lot of effort to focus, and sometimes it's impossible. I don't take medication because I don't feel like it's like preventing me from going on, or it's not preventing my daily life from occurring. But it's more of a an annoyance than anything. Um, Sometimes on some days more than others, it's an annoyance. But sometimes in creative writing class, like in my last two workshops, when they were reading my stories, people were making suggestions about books that maybe I could get something out of, and they're naming the titles, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I should have read that already. It seems like everybody around me is so much more well read than I. And I don't know how to feel about that. I write a lot, but I haven't read a lot. The biggies, Pride and Prejudice, Hemingway, Steinbeck, all the stuff that your typical English major has read like way back in high school, and I blame it on ADD. I say it's hard to sit down, but I must say, as an English major, that muscle, that concentration muscle, is getting worked a lot more than it has in the past. It's just when you're forced to do something for a grade, and listen, I'm going for A pluses, not just A's. So when you're sort of forced to do things, you sit down and you do it. I'm also taking a Shakespeare class where we have to read four. Yeah, we read Twelfth Night first, and then we read Macbeth, and now we're on Henry V, and our last play that we read will be, gosh, why can't I think of it? Julius Caesar. Yeah. So we have to read the play in its entirety on our own, and then we have to watch a particular film version of that play, that Shakespeare play. And then in class, we compare and contrast the original text to this director's vision of Shakespeare's work. So obviously, you can't sit in class and talk about this play unless you have read it, you know. And I'm so it's such an accomplishment, to when I get to the final scenes, to the final lines of the play. Each time it's like, oh wow, I read it, I read it. And it just builds my confidence. It's funny, growing up, I didn't think that I was dumb, but I didn't know what was wrong with me that I couldn't, like, when I go home and I start on my homework and I just couldn't focus. I mean, I keep saying focus over and over again, but it's the most appropriate word. I couldn't focus. And I used to think, well, I guess I'm because it seemed to come so much easier to my other classmates that, oh yeah, I did it, whatever. Oh, I read it. Yeah, it was easy. But to me, uh, so I don't know. But it's getting better. It's getting better. But I'm gonna try slowly and surely to I'm gonna make a list of things to read. Um, I love reading short stories, and I, I, I saw that there's this collection of short stories making the rounds, and I can't, I'm sorry, I can't tell you guys the name of it, but apparently it's a big deal. Like, everybody's going goo goo gaga over it. So I'm gonna check that out. I love short stories. It's not a major investment, and baby steps, baby steps. When you at the end of a story, you're like, I finished it. So, anywho, in terms of pop culture, Rihanna and Chris Brown apparently have broken up. Now, it's very hard to keep up with this couple and their current relationship status. But yeah, apparently he was being interviewed by a radio station, and they asked him if he was still with Rihanna, Chris Brown, and he said, "Well, the short answer is no," or something to that effect. Now, where do I begin with Chris Brown and Rihanna? Their story is unlike many people's stories. I mean, especially when you're in your 20s and you're in love, and you love hard and you love passionately, and then you fight hard and you fight passionately. Except that theirs is being played out for everybody to see. I mean, when he beat her down, the bruises were all over the world. The images of those bruises. So I never in my life thought that she would ever reconcile with him. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine, like, even taking like a friend. If you get into a fight with a friend and, like, you know a physical. I don't see how you make up after that. Like to me, putting your hands on somebody else, like I don't see how you come back from that. I don't. But apparently, she went back with him. Apparently, and the reason I say apparently is you can never trust what you see in the celebrity's life. There is so publicists and their management teams have become so adept in putting forth an image and manipulating the media in a way that gives us a certain impression of what's going on, and what's really going on behind the scenes is can be something totally different. So they show up to the Grammys, Chris Brown and Rihanna, and they're sitting side by side, and they're smiling, and her head is on his shoulder, and I don't know when this. First of all, I don't know when the last time I saw Chris Brown smile. He used to smile all the time, and then he beat her up, and then he just stopped smiling, and he got all these tattoos, and but it was nice to see him smiling again. Um, and then now that they've broken up or they're not together, I wonder, being a cynic when it comes to Hollywood celebrities and the truthfulness with which they present themselves. Let's just say that. I wonder now if they were ever actually together, or was it some master scheme to sort of help to repair Chris's image, and have everybody just forget about that whole thing. Yes, if she's forgiven him, we should forgive him, and then shut up about it. You know, who's to say? Who's to say? It is interesting, and it shows how complicated we are as humans. If you take Rihanna at her word in that Rolling Stone interview, she was like, I love him and I want to be with him and I'm gonna be with him and everybody else be damned. Even after he humiliated her in such a way by choking her and beating her and leaving her on the side of the road. It's like after all of that, as a writer, I love it. As a writer, I love it, and I'm sure I'll use it in some sort of story or script or whatever. But it's so interesting that we we go back even after we're mistreated in such an extreme way. We will go back if we feel that there is something to be gained by going back in some way. And I'm not judging what they're doing. If they're together or they're not. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and they're not paying my rent, so it's no. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. But it's just so interesting as an artist to try to examine what that is about us that puts up with that. I have another video on here about transformation, and in that video I talked about my choice to end a long term friendship, and how hard that was, and how I put up with a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have ever put up with. And even then, I asked myself, what was it? What? Because when you're in it, it's a whole different thing, and then when you step out of it, you're like, and my quote breakup with that friend wasn't so long ago. But as I look back, it feels sort of like ancient history in a way, and I think that it just speaks to my having really and truly moved on from that. So I don't know. I wish both Chris Brown and Rihanna the best. Um, it can't be easy. It can't be easy to live out your life and everybody have an opinion on it. I can't imagine. I mean, I have a video on here about Justin Bieber and talking about the same thing, that can you imagine like the scrutiny of living in, and people say fishbowl all the time, but that's a great metaphor. You're living in this fishbowl, and you're looking out and everybody's just looking in, just seeing what you'll do next. I can't imagine. So I wish them well. Um, in news, what's all over CNN is that this DA, district attorney in Texas, and his wife were just like gunned down in their home. Now, as an English major, when you elect to become an English major, you say, what am I going to do with this? Well, I knew what I was going to do with it, but of course you research career options and lists of things that English majors typically go on to do. And on near the top of the list is to go into law, to become an attorney. And what stopped me from ever considering being an attorney was just what you see on the TV. You have crazy people out there. And if you're in the case of the district attorney, if you're prosecuting people, you're going to be making a lot of enemies, because if you cannot tell them, it's sort of a wacky legal system we have. It's the only one we have, so we just have to deal with it. But in a lot of ways, as we know, it's flawed. And if you're prosecuting people and you read the facts on the page and you say, oh yeah, this, and this happened, you weren't there. Just like the defense attorney wasn't there, just like the judge wasn't there, just like the jury wasn't there. The only people who were there were the people who were there. And everything else really is speculation. I mean, it's sort of an educated and an informed speculation, if you will, but it's speculation nonetheless. I mean, you're gathering evidence and DNA samples and stuff like that. You can try to piece together a story, but will you truly know what went down and how it went down? No, only the people who were there know what happened. And as the DA, as the prosecutor, you are gonna, like I say, make a lot of enemies. And you are gonna be prosecuting people who are innocent, who are totally innocent, and you have the story wrong. But because it's your job to be the prosecutor and to prove your case, whether people are innocent or not, once that train is running, the legal process is running, what's really happened and the truth sort of takes a backseat. And, that's sort of sad. But that's why I would never go into law. Because even if you're a defense attorney and you're defending somebody who's, whether they're guilty or they're innocent, and they lose their case, and they are either innocent and they get sentenced, or they're guilty and they thought you were going to get them off as your defense attorney, or as their defense attorney, and they get, a 20-year sentence, and they're pissed. And everything is like public knowledge, right? I mean, if you are a public official, people can find out where you live, find out where you are, contact. So I said, it's too many crazy people in the world to be trying to be a lawyer. And unfortunately, this is a prime example of what can happen. Who knows why? I mean, they took out his wife too. I mean, what does the wife have to do with anything? I mean, not that you should be going around killing district attorneys, but the wife, like, wow. So I just think that's the craziest story. An interesting addition to this bizarre story, and nobody knows, like, it's such a mystery, like, who invaded these people's house and shot them. But like 2 months ago, the the assistant district attorney was killed in the parking lot of the courthouse. Yeah, like they said, it was almost 2 months to the day, according to the article I read. So can you imagine, like, the last 2 months was the district attorney going, oh, am I next? Am I next? Like living in fear. Oh, out in Texas, man. But it could happen anywhere. So you really have to be called to do a profession like that, a profession like shit, a profession like that, because with all. I mean, you're sitting next to like a cold-blooded murderer sometimes. I mean, who sliced up 10 people or whatever just for the fun of it, like, and I like it means that they have no regard for human life, and you're among that. You're not exempt to that. So I don't know. I just wish the family well, and I hope that justice is served. In both of those cases, the DA and his wife's murder, and the assistant DA's murder. That's sad. I mean, out in Texas, wild, wild west, man. I don't know. I I wanted to talk about how much I hate Windows 8, and I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I recently just bought a Dell, which is what I'm shooting on now, and of course, Windows 8 comes installed on that automatically. And I was going to do this video just now, and like it wasn't working. Like I couldn't figure out how to get from this app to this, And to me, there's so much information out there about how people use their computers and how people use technology. What should be intuitive for a user by now, right? And to me, Windows 8 does not accomplish that. Windows 8 is not intuitive or ergonomic, as they say. It is. If I have to go and try to read the directions to try to figure out, they've done it wrong. If I can't figure out for myself how to get around, and I've grown up with technology. This is not a new thing to me, but this interface is. I think that they let Apple get into their heads or something, and they tried to do something really fancy. And I say, if it wasn't broke, don't fix it. I mean, we all know how Windows is supposed to operate, so just I don't know the app thing. I say leave the app interface for tablets and smartphones. I don't want to have that on my desk on my laptop. So I just wanted to rant about that. In terms of TV, I'm looking forward to Mad Men coming back. I think it comes back in April, and I think it's the last season or next to last. It's either the next to last. No, it has to be the next to last season because they would be hyping it up like a lot more. The final season, final season. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it's the next to the last season. Um, I'm looking forward to that. I wish, as a person of color, that there were more people of color. I wish that they would go ahead and bring somebody into the ad agency that was non-white. They could do that. Asian, something, something. I mean, I love white people. Don't get me wrong. Um, but golly, I want to see somebody. Mad Men is at a time um, where race was like at the forefront. It was in the headlines all the time. So, and I know it's like a big deal type of ad agency, but come on, it's fiction too, and they can do something with that. Maybe they'll do it this season. I don't know. They brought a black girl on last season, and she was doing a little something, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see where they take it. I'm a loyal Mad Men watcher, so I think the writing is just spectacular. As a writer, I feel like it all starts with the writing. You can't have anything without the writing in terms of film, in terms of television. I mean, people say you want to be a writer, and like it's like who is a writer? Like writing is everywhere. I think that's so funny. But the writing on Mad Men is extraordinary. The acting, I love great acting because it's rarely seen. I feel like it's yeah, because you have so much bad acting on television. When you see like extraordinary acting, it's just and the characters and the visual of the it's just it's genius. It's genius, and I love when I think the one reason Mad Men is such a hit is because it's different. you know, TV and the movie industry, they seem to shy away from what's different in terms of what they feel will sell. And time again, what sells and what's successful is things that are outside of the norm, right? So I don't. Maybe it's just a human trait that, oh, it's different. I'm scared of it, and maybe that will never go away. But I love that as a writer, I seem to write and create things that are outside of this formula that we're supposed to write or create inside of. Oh no, that won't work. Well, why won't it work? You know. So we'll see where they take this season. Some shows that I want to get into are Game of Thrones and True Blood. Everybody raves about both of those, and I just haven't started watching them yet. I like to watch things from the beginning, so me picking it up in whatever season it is now, I'm gonna be totally annoyed by trying to catch up with it and who is this person, so I'll go to Netflix or whatever to start from the beginning. Um, I think I watched the first episode of the current season of Spartacus, and um, I'm still trying to get used to the new black girl. I forget her name, but I guess the old actress, she didn't want to get naked or whatever anymore, so they switched her out. And I'm still trying to get used to that, but I'm sure I'll get over that. But it's sad, and I'm still getting used to the new Spartacus. I mean, for obvious reasons. What's it, Whitfield? Andy Whitfield can't do it anymore because unfortunately he passed away. So I'm still trying to get used to the new Spartacus. You know, whatever. Spartacus is a guilty pleasure. The acting is the writing is but there's just something about it that you're like, yeah. It's funny, and to me, that's what a guilty pleasure should be. It's like, yeah, I have a certain standard of things that I usually like and enjoy and want to see more of, and this is really not that. So I guess that's what a guilty pleasure is. Um, I named all of those, and what do all of those have in common? They're like a majority white cast. And please don't think that I'm like, all about, not seeing white people or something like that, because I'm not. I mean, if you look at my family portrait, we're every color of the rainbow, and I'll break that down in another video. So yeah, don't think that I'm that guy. I just love to see more diversity, and to me, it's not hard, especially when you have, um, Spartacus does try. Spartacus has like mixed race unions. It has a same sex union. Like, yeah, Spartacus does try. But in terms of Mad Men, in terms of like a lot of scripted shows that I watch, it's just all, and it's like they don't even try. You look at Big Bang Theory, and I think they're all white, but they have like an Indian guy. I want to say he's Indian, and that's it. I don't see why they couldn't have a smart ass, black person on there, or smart ass somebody else. I don't know. I'm just, to me, it's so simple because you have the actors out there who could do it. So to me, it means that they're just really not trying. It's just not something that they're interested in. They're seeing the dollar signs and they're targeting their show to a certain group of people, white people. So I don't know. It just always disappoints me. That kind of reminds me of my local radio station and morning show. They have a morning show, very popular, and it basically has made the radio station a success. This morning show, and the leader of the morning show, is always talking about, oh, I hate that in this city there's such a racial divide, black and white. We should bring it together. And then he tried to partner with a black radio station to have like this black and white get together thing, and but his show is all white. not only that, I mean, that's not to say that they should fire all the white people and hire, I'm not saying that. But when one DJ leaves, who do they bring in? Another white DJ. And then another DJ leaves, and who do they bring in? Another white DJ. So it's like the powers that be at that radio station, I'm sure that the lead DJ is not making the decisions of who is hiring or who is the main cast of this morning show. Um, but the powers that be want their show to remain targeted at uh, white people. And bringing in too much color, unfortunately, will, in their minds, and I feel like in my mind, will sort of start to repel the white audience. The more color you bring in, the more the white audience, generally speaking, I'm not talking about everybody, but generally speaking, it's going to go, oh, well, this isn't for me anymore. This isn't for me anymore. Maybe it's a subconscious thing that happens, like, oh, like kind of like the same thing with too many people of color moving to a white neighborhood. What happens? We all see it. Oh, this neighborhood is going down. So not to get too deep about it, but I would love to see more diversity on TV. It's like it's time already. It's time, and you're starting to see it more and more. I would just like to have seen it yesterday. Like it's silly because we're all like the same as one another. Like we're all the same. When you boil it all down, when tragedy happens, all this crap that we think is so important, like race and sexual orientation and religion, and like it goes out the window where it should be in the first place. And we all become one. 9/11, like nobody was thinking about anything like that. Katrina, nobody was thinking about anything like that. You're my fellow human being, and I'm gonna risk my life to help save yours. Hurricane Sandy, tornadoes, floods. Like we all know in our minds that it's not important, but in the day to day, we hold it in such high esteem. These dividing lines, and it's very frustrating for me. And again, I'll go into my whole family racial makeup sometime. Um, and I know I have, because of that family makeup, a different view of the world when it comes to race. Um, but yeah, it frustrates me nonetheless. So when I, begin making my films and writing my stories, I'm gonna naturally fit in as much diversity as I possibly can. Um, because I think people just need to see it, and then they'll realize, oh, it's not as big a deal as. And maybe that's my goal. Maybe it will help to change in general how casting works in Hollywood. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's my What's Going On Volume 1. And again, if you have any suggestions on a on a name, please leave it in the comments. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like what you see and you want to see more of it. Um, I think that's about it. Again, happy Easter, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.